mode.
This webinar will go over changes that will occur on 7/16/2015. Midwest Health has been asked to participate in an early release of a version of the software. Midwest Health is one of 20 clients that will participate in this release. This release is considered to be in a beta phase, meaning that any issues that arise with the software need to be communicated to Rebecca Logue via an Outlook email or a message with Inside Vision. The changes that occur within the software are mostly designed to save end user time. We will go over those changes. This webinar pertains to those who will pass medications as well as those who will enter in physician orders. There is another webinar that will go over MDS changes and other management nursing function changes. The first change noted with the update is the order administration widget now has an option to include the admin capture window. The admin capture window is set to an hour before and an hour after the liberalized med passes are to start. The option shows right next to your building selection, and there is a check mark. I have it set to include admin capture window, meaning that it will pull forward the medications that are an hour before and an hour after the 10A to 2P time frame. When I unselect the include admin capture window, the blue dot will no longer show up on the right side of the pane. Another change to note is that no longer do the blue dots appear over on the left side of the pane. You will only see red and blue dots on this side of the pane when within the liberalized med pass times. Another change to note is that in the past, at times, we have had to go back to the 6 to 10A time frame in order to pass the medications that were in the 6 to 10A time frame, meaning that I would have to drop down my drop-down bar by the time frame and click the 6 to 10A in order to pass these medications over here. At this time, when I click on the 6 to 10A medications, the EMR-ETAR will load, and I will be able to see the 6 to 10A meds and pass them and not worry about being in the wrong time frame. The vitals that are the most recent capture will now also appear on the EMR-ETAR directly below the pharmacy. Another change to note with the EMR-ETAR is the medication count. Another change to note with the EMR-ETAR is the medication count. What the system had done before is if you had a Lasix 40 milligrams in the 6 to 10A time frame and a Lasix 40 milligrams in the 10 to 2 time frame, as this person does, it would have captured that order as one medication, and the count would have been 13 over here. Now the system correctly counts the number of medications that are in this pass. It doesn't count one order or two medications as one pass. When you're in the EMR ETAR, there is a report that is in the chain link that is called the Admin History Report. The Admin History Report will display medications that were given in the last 7 days. With this report in our long-term care facilities, this report is not to be handed to a state surveyor. This report is to be utilized if you're needing to see when medications were last given, the exact timestamp, or if you're trying to figure out when the medication was last given just for yourself. It's just another way to look. To utilize this report, the chain link located underneath the small red X, at the bottom there's an admin history report. If you click on that, it will take you to another screen for the view administration history. The calendar can be backed up as far as you want it to. I need to go back further because this is the testing environment. One change that has occurred with this report is there's an include date signed. It comes unchecked. I'm going to go ahead and check it and run this report. See if I can find where this guy has taken some medications. Okay, so when this report comes up, there are now 2 different columns that are different from the columns that we had in our prior version. The first column is the date administered. That is going to tell you when it is supposed to be administered per the computer. So you'll see here, this was to be given at 1800. The date documented is the actual timestamp when you clicked submit. So it shows 1937 there. With this report, there will be further changes as the verbiage up here could be worded a little bit better, as well as the date administered could be a filter that we choose from. So this report that I pulled, it has the include date signed, which is this column right here. I am going to pull this off and run the report again. When this report reprocesses, you will see that now it just shows the date administered, which it will show the time of the beginning of the time frame or the time that it was supposed to be given per the clock hour. So you see all these generic times here. This report will now either give the time the computer wanted you to give it, which is the administered time, or the date signed, which is when you actually time-stamped it. Again, this report does not go to state surveyors. Another change that is occurring with the update is the order admin widget is supposed to refresh every 15 minutes. Right now, this widget is refreshing every 3 minutes. So you will sit there and all of a sudden your screen will blank out and it will refresh. They have pushed back the time of the refresh. If you need to manually refresh your widget, you can do so by clicking on the arrows that kind of chase each other. That will refresh your widget for you. When entering in medications, it was hard as nurses to remember that, oh yeah, I need to search for the generic name if I can't find the brand name, or I need to search for the brand name if I can't find the generic name. So now what will happen is when you're searching for a medication, the system will now pull forward both the brand and the generic name. Let me find my levothyroxines. So here I have my levothyroxine at the top. If I continue to scroll down, Synthroids will now appear at the bottom as well. This will make searching for medications easier than it has been in the past. So again, both names will appear when you're searching for a medication. With order entry, those of you that utilize the order set library, it's located in the chain link below the small red X. You can create from order set library. I have to come back in and out, otherwise the system will get mad at me. The chain link located underneath the small red X, there's the Create from Order Set library. When utilizing the Order Set library in prior versions, you would open up the Order Set library and some of them would have 60 plus medications on them. These medications would come pre-checked, and if the nurse forgot to uncheck those orders, all 60 plus medications would go over to the POS, and then all 60 plus medications had to be marked as entry error and worked all the way through, which caused a lot of nurses not willing to work with the order set library. With this version, when you select an order set library that contains multiple medications, it now comes unselected. So now you will need to check the ones that you want. So for those of you that have been trained on the order set library by corporate nurses, the snap no longer applies. You will no longer need to expand and uncheck your medication columns. You can expand and then check the medications you're wanting to work with. The descriptions that state deselect orders that do not apply will be coming off because that no longer applies. Hopefully with the medications coming unselected, more nurses will be willing to use the order set library as it does save time. With the order set library, black box warnings are included in the notes box. Additional directions are included in the notes box. The appropriate physical monitors are included in the notes box, as well as admin and authorization levels are included. The physical monitors that were attached to the hypertension and cardiac medications have since been removed per a change in direction with those order set libraries. Another change with order entry for those facilities that are utilizing the PT INR physical monitor, HealthMEDX has now separated out the PT INR. With the physical monitors, you will note that now the INR and the PT can either be both selected, or if you're just wanting to monitor the INR, you can just select the INR. Per HealthMEDX recommendation, all orders containing the dual PT INR need to be converted to either just the Perthrombin time, just the INR, or both of them by 8/1 of 2015. The old values that are associated with this PT-INR will still be available for reporting, and it will be known as the PT-INR legacy. The individual PT-INRs will still report out in the test tab within the clinical chart. So here we see we'll have just the PT, just the INR. The PT-INR legacy is that information that will be in history. On 7/16, all orders that have the PT-INR associated with it will convert to this PT-INR legacy. Again, by 8/1 of 2015, please have all orders converted to the new physical monitor of PT-INR. On the physician order sheet, if you are using the Generate Physician Order Sheets, as well as the other physician order sheet, this will appear there as well. This Generate Physician Order Sheet actually prints out less pages and also has verbiage on it that the pharmacy recommended. But a change is that if the doctor ordered Synthroid and did not want you to give the levothyroxine, so you marked it as dispense as written yes on the physician order entry screen, on your POSs now it will say dispense as written, as noted where I'm circling. Dispense as written message now appears on physician order sheets. In the Order tab within the clinical chart of HealthMEDX, Advanced Directives will now have their own widget and appear out here on the screen. So when you put those advanced directives in, they will now appear on the main screen as well. Some other changes to note with the update is that verbal interim orders, when you go to generate the verbal interim orders within HealthMEDX, you will be able to pull forward those orders if it was discontinued by a different doctor other than their primary. The resident name will now print on all pages of the physician order sheet. For those nurses that utilize the blue links within the assessments, such as the S-bar, those blue links will now open in a separate window. Those facilities that are utilizing eye care, physicians will have the ability to document progress notes, H&Ps, and discharge summaries in the eye care app. This will be available at a later date. There are also some other noted changes with the touchscreen that Midwest Health will utilize at a later date. This is still currently being tested. If there are any questions about any of the material discussed in this webinar, please let Rebecca Logue know. Again, this update will occur on 7/16 of 2015. This update is also part of an early adopt that Midwest Health has been asked to participate in with HealthMEDX. If any issues arise, please let Rebecca Logue know.